All right, perfect. So, bought this with the credit card. Bought this with the credit card. Bought this with the credit card. I have the real thing too. Bought it with the credit card. I'm just boosting my credit score. Like I'm doing great. Wait, what are you doing? Why are you just buying all of that stuff on a credit card? You think that'll boost your credit score? Yeah, of course it will. Why wouldn't it? This is exactly what you need to do to boost your credit score, right? No, no, no. You're just increasing the balance. If you don't pay it back, what are you doing? You're not actually getting a higher credit score at all. Oh, interesting. So how do I get a perfect credit score? Let me tell you. Hey, finance experts, ever wonder what's going on with your credit and why you don't have a perfect credit score? Today is all about getting your perfect credit score. Hey guys, I'm Jay from Investonomics, and this week we're going to take a look at why people always talk about how to improve your credit score, but never talk about how to get it to that perfect 850. There's a lot of great information from some experts like Jim Drusky, and some Investonomics tips as well to get you to that 850 credit score. So let's dive right in. So first things first, what exactly comprises your credit score? This is probably one of the most important things to understand before you start trying to optimize it. And the first of those, and the biggest weight, is payment history. Essentially what this means is that you don't have any missed payments or late payments in your recent history, and that you make at least your minimum payment. Now, this is very doable for most people since the average credit card should only have a minimum payment per month of between $20 to $100. And this will boost it by 35%, which is the percentage of your credit score that payment history comprises. Now, the second biggest component that's absolutely critical to your credit score is the amounts that are owed. Now, this is a common misconception. What people usually think is the total overall amount of credit that they owe. What it actually means is your credit utilization rate. The utilization rate is the percentage of your total credit that you have utilized or you have in use. So if you take an example of a credit card that has a $1,000 limit and you spend $1,000 on that card, that's a 100% utilization rate and looks very shady to lenders and credit bureaus. But on the other hand, if you have a credit limit of $10,000 and you spend that same $1,000 on that card, the utilization rate is now only 10%. So this is much more favorable in the eye of credit bureaus. The amounts owed portion makes up another 30% of your credit score. The third component of your credit score is the average age of your credit. So if you just have one credit card that you opened 10 years ago, your average age of your credit is going to be 10 full years. But if you go ahead and open a new, say, American Express card today, and you take out this amount and apply for it, you get it, then because you applied for it today, it will actually cut the average age of your credit in half. And this is because you now have two cards, one with an age of 0 years and one with the age of 10 years. So now the average age is only 5 years. This makes up 15% of your credit score. Now, the fourth and second last component is the types of credit you have. It might sound a bit counterintuitive, but the way it works is the amounts and types of credit you have with a certain lender is actually very beneficial for your credit score. So some examples include if you have a credit card, an auto loan, different kinds of mortgages, or other kinds of lines of credit. This is seen very favorably since it shows you can handle different kinds of loans. So although it seems counterintuitive to have more debt, it will improve your credit score. This makes up another 10% of your credit score. A very interesting one, and the smallest component that makes up your credit score, is called hard inquiries. Now, these are it's a bit of a misconception and doesn't always make sense because what a hard inquiry is, you're applying for some kind of loan, and this gets reported to the credit bureau, and they put a temporary hold on your credit score that will reduce it a little bit. Not in all cases. Sometimes it's left unscathed at all. But in most cases, it'll actually reduce your credit score just temporarily while you apply for that credit. This is kind of counterintuitive because if you want to take different kinds of credit, if you're looking to do this, you need to have hard inquiries. The good thing is after 12 months, typically any kind of decrease in your credit score due to hard inquiries will be erased from your credit score. And this includes if you get rejected, which is a common misconception. So even if you get rejected for a credit card or some kind of loan, this will be erased within 12 months months. Okay, so now that we understand how a credit score works, it's the perfect time to dive right in and get some expert advice. Now, I'll leave this link in the description below. A CNBC interview with credit expert Jim Drosky, who actually runs a credit education. He actually started back in 1984. He started with one credit card. Over time, he's gotten up to 6 credit cards, 2 installment loans, and a mortgage. So he's over time expanded his credit. So let's see what Jim has to say, and we'll understand why he does what he does. And he has a perfect 850 credit score. So a perfect example for this video. One of the first things we need to realize about Jim is that over time, he's leveraged his ability and his relationships with lenders in order to increase his credit limit. His current credit limit on all his credit cards combined is about $82,000. Now, this is a lot higher than the average $22,000 of the average American. And again, this comes down to that utilization rate. So if he uses a little bit on his cards, it'll be pretty hard to get to even 50% utilization rate, since that will be $41,000. He historically has a very, very low balance on his credit cards. At the time of the interview, it was just about $600, which is less than 1%. It was actually rounded to 1%, funny enough. So Jim said the way he got started with credit and his fascination with it when he worked at a car dealership where he saw 2 people with different credit scores, one in the 600s and one above 800. And they both bought the exact same car on the exact same day with the exact same kinds of demographics in terms of their age and whatnot that contributes to a car loan. But they left the dealership, one of them with 19% APR interest and the other one with just 5%. This is incredible. Just because of a credit score, which is a metric looking at your debt history, you're able to shave off 14% per year on interest that you're paying towards a car loan. He's had credit for about 34 years of his life, and his average credit age is currently about 10 years. In the terms of how many loans he has, 10 is actually outstanding, given that he has those 6 credit cards, his mortgage, and his 2 installment loans as well. And finally, Jim emphasizes how dangerous to your credit score missed or late payments are. He said he has never missed a payment, he's never been late for a payment, and upon a study of more people that actually have an 850 credit score, their missed or late payments, if they had any, were more than 7 years ago. And this is another important thing to know, that after 7 years, your missed and late payments are erased from your credit report. We're just going to move on to the top tips for this episode that I've put together myself, scouring the internet and listening to experts. And before I go into this, I just want to emphasize that if you don't know where you stand in terms of your credit score, make sure you find out what your credit score is. It's a great starting point. And most importantly, do not pay to see your credit score. There are so many places you can get your credit score for free, and a lot of these places will try to trick you into paying to see your credit score on a monthly basis or on an annual basis. And various places will let you see it once per year, but there's other places that also, maybe even your bank, allow you to view your credit score whenever you want. All right, so now moving on to our first tip, and this is a very good one that a lot of people don't know about, and that is to become an authorized user on a trusted adult or friend's credit card. How this works is that you get put onto their credit card account. You get your own card and you can use it, but essentially it assigns their credit history to you as a person. So I definitely recommend this for someone just starting out. If you're later in life, or even if you're just turning 18 and you want to get into the credit card world, but you don't have a great credit score yet, so you don't want to deal with that low limit, become an authorized user. It'll build your credit very quickly. Of course, over time, you want to try to move to your own credit card and go from there, since that's the best way to go to that 850 level. But to start out, being an authorized user is a very good idea. I do want to emphasize, though, that you definitely want to choose someone that you trust, someone that you know is very good with credit and doesn't have any missed or late payments, and somebody, of course, that doesn't abuse their credit card. Second, we've mentioned this a couple times before, but it is to reduce your utilization rate. And there's not just one way to do this. You don't just have to pay down the balance of your credit card. That's kind of the cool thing here. Because utilization rate, as we've mentioned, relates to the total amount of credit you have in terms of what you've borrowed, This is an easy hack, and that is to simply increase your limit. If you have an offer to increase your limit, or simply you want to inquire about it, this is a great idea. See if it's possible for you. If you can increase it, say if you increase it from 10 to 20,000, that's going to reduce your utilization rate by 50%. And Jim also mentions that this is typically between 14 to 30 days. A bump in your credit score is seen if you decrease your utilization rate. So a great way to quickly boost your credit score if you need that quick boost and you are kind of sitting at a higher utilization rate. A second way to do this, if you don't have any option to increase your limit, is to apply for another $0 annual credit card, because this will also increase your total utilization rate since the total amount of debt will be larger. So these are two great ways to reduce your utilization rate. Of course, you can also repay existing balance on any cards to reduce your utilization rate as well. And it should go without saying that if you have some bad spending habits and you tend to max out your credit card, try not to increase your limit or apply for a new credit card. Instead, probably focus on paying back your balance that you owe. This is probably the most effective way for you. The third tip is to avoid late payments. Much like Jim said, this is a very important aspect to make sure that your credit score remains high. Although it is erased after 7 years, it is something that you should definitely avoid if you can. And if you do have a late or missed payment, don't wait to pay it, because after 30 days, it becomes 60 days delinquent, then 180 days, and it'll actually be sent to what's called collections. And this is actually when they've kind of written off the debt, your credit score takes the biggest hit, and they actually come knocking for that money back. So don't let it get to that point. And finally, I hope this goes without saying, but don't close any accounts you have. Keep your credit cards, even if you're not using them, just keep them open forever. Keep them in your wallet. Spend $5 at Starbucks one day of the month. Okay, and finally, just a quick discrepancy here. The fact that you do not need a perfect 850 credit score to get all of the perks associated with it. And this includes things like getting insane amounts of points, or getting special offers from lenders, and special interest rates, and special promotions, and special invitations to different events. And this all happens when you're nearing that 800 mark. So you definitely do not need an 850 credit score to get these perks. All right, so what did we cover today? We got through what a credit score is, the 5 components that make up a credit score and their percentages. We went through Jim Droski's methods for getting that perfect 850 credit score over time, some very useful things you can apply. We went through our own tips that we gathered on top of Jim's advice to kind of boost, and different things that you can do to get to that perfect credit score. And finally, we talked about that the credit score of 850 is not an end-all be-all situation. Around 800, you're killing it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. All right, I guess this is what I have to do to get perfect credit score. So I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just collect plastic at this point. I think this is gonna really help me get a perfect credit score. Now, which one did I have to use for Amazon again?